We've been through some here and some tough years, so yeah, I'm just really proud of the guys, how we're all hanging in here, and yeah, I couldn't be proud of all the guys. I don't think there's a team who deserves it more than us.
You talked to Brady before the plane leaves.
Absolutely.
Have you already?
No, I haven't yet, but I'm sure he's got something in the group chat or something. So, he's obviously going to be fired up, and we're excited to get him back in the lineup.
Every single guy, to a man in this room, we just can't wait to get in the dance. And I mean, every year you go home early and it's disappointing, and you overthink things. And knowing that now we're getting in, I think we're just a hungry group. We want to, whoever we're facing, we're going to be ready to go.
Well, you really hear the excitement in the voices of the Ottawa Senators back in the postseason for the first time since 2017 as we welcome our Director of Scouting, Craig Button, to talk a little bit about the Sens being back in the postseason. Craig, this is exciting, not just for the fan base, which has really been hoping for this for a long time. They've had some lean years. Tim Stutzla put it differently. I'll call them lean years. But you got to give credit to not just Steve Staios and our buddy Dave Poulin and Michael Andlauer, but even someone like Pierre Dorion, right, Craig? You know, there's a lot of criticism about the way Dorion handled things as a GM, but man, what an incredible drafter of talent Dorion was. And as a result, they're finally seeing the results of all that hard work.
Yeah, and unless you're an expansion team, everybody that was part of the previous management, previous scouting group has had contributions to where the Senators find themselves at this point in time. And you know, Michael Andlauer is a superb owner. He and Steven Staios have not tasted playoff disappointment with respect to not being in the playoffs. They've always been in the playoffs. They've had massive success in the OHL. So they're accustomed to that. But more than that, Jay, they understood that there was a process. I think that going into a new organization, sometimes there might be what I would call like this urge to do things quickly. I think they went in, they assessed, they looked at their team, they said, okay, what's the good parts of the team? What are the things where we got to shore it up? And they really went about their business in a real forthright manner. I mean, getting Linus Ullmark in a trade has paid off significantly. Being bold at the trade deadline and understanding that they needed a different type of player, and they went out and got Dylan Cousins, and then getting Fabian Zetterlund. I mean, these are the things you can't just do with a snap of a finger. You have to really get to know your team, get to know your group, how they respond, what they could need a little bit more of. And I think they went about it in a really methodical way. And what the payoff now is the Ottawa Senators are back in the playoffs. So wonderful for the Ottawa Senators fans and for those young players that have come into the league. They weren't ready to be a competitive team when all those guys were young, but they've now developed and they've matured, and they go into the playoffs with a lot of confidence.
Now, they didn't actually win the game on Tuesday, Craig, so I guess my next question is, what's the biggest thing the Sens have to work on over the next 4 games as we get set to head into the postseason?
Yeah, Jay, their defensive play. Since the Four Nations face-off, they've been bottom 5 in too many critical areas. Inner slot shots against, high danger chances against, the forecheck chances against, cycle chances against. You can't go in to the playoffs against good teams and be weak in those areas to the extent that the Senators have been since the Four Nations face-off. So for Travis Green, it's about getting those areas tightened up. The goaltending has been fantastic, and the goaltending has really helped them win games where they were poor defensively. You can't keep counting on that. Yes, the goaltending is good, but they've been a pretty good defensive team prior to the Four Nations tournament. So I don't think it's about Travis trying to convince them this is what you have to do. I think it's about convincing them this is what's going to give us success. You've done it. Now let's just get back to doing it again.
Montreal Canadiens get the win to help put the Sens into the postseason, but the bigger news for Montreal and their fans on Tuesday, Craig, is the fact that the Habs came to an agreement with the KHL, and Ivan Demidov is coming over from the KHL. He will join the Montreal Canadiens for the remainder of the season, and GM Kent Hughes actually had some things to say about Demidov during our Red Wings Habs broadcast on Tuesday night.
We don't want to put too much expectations on him. We're talking about a 19-year-old kid traveling across the world to come play you know, hopefully he gets a game in or two before playoffs if we are able to make them, and we'll see how he fits in. But we're going to play it by ear. We spent time with him in December in St. Petersburg, and at that time, you know, he was indicating how excited he was. Obviously, at that time, we were thinking that was for next season, but the timetables got a little accelerated.
You know, Craig, if you were on Twitter Tuesday, Hockey Twitter was going absolutely mad about this kid, and they have all season long, and it's wild. I mean, people are talking about him being the greatest offensive player to play for the Habs since Guy Lafleur, potentially. This is out of control. So what kind of role will he have for the Habs as we head down the stretch and then in the postseason?
One of the things about Ivan is that Ivan was a really good player in the KHL this season. Not just one of the really good rookies in the league. He was one of the very best players in the KHL. A very difficult league, a hard league to play in. And when you can have the type of success that Demidov had in the KHL, that is a real indicator. Jay, one of the biggest things that players coming from Europe, especially in the KHL on the bigger rink, it's really comfortable to play outside where all that space is. And a lot of players have to learn that you come to the smaller rinks in the NHL, you got to play inside the dots, you got to play to the net, you got to attack defenders and push them in towards their goal, circles down. Demidov already does that. Yeah. There's no adjustment with respect to getting him to play a different style of game. Now, I know Kent Hughes wants to temper expectations, but at the same time, you know, traveling from St. Petersburg over to Montreal, all he needs is a couple nights sleep, and he loves playing hockey. He's a great competitor. And for the Montreal Canadiens to get this type of player with this type of seasoning under his belt, this is not just a young player that, like, okay, we'll see where it's at. He can come in and help the Montreal Canadiens right now. And I think that the ability for Demidov to be able to come over and for the Montreal Canadiens to get him into the lineup, boy, oh boy, you talk about trade deadline. How about this type of addition to a team that is rolling right along? And he's going to love it. And they're going to love him in Montreal, Jay, because this kid is special.
It is a good time, Craig, to be a Montreal Canadiens fan. The Habs and Sens now separated by just 3 points in the standings. They'll face each other on Friday. Craig, if you don't mind sticking around, I want to show you what happened between the Leafs and the Panthers in Sunrise, Florida, Tuesday.